I do my calls, I actually, if I can, I try to always go 5 to 10 minutes over. Your host is, if that's the plan, and it's according to your schedule, but the plan will always be for Trent, for example, to know that and to ask 5 minutes over. It's like, hey, Jim, it looks like we still have 3 or 4 more questions. Do you mind if we go a couple minutes over today? And since the plan is that you're planning on it, when you can, then what you say is, sure, we can do that today. And what it does is it's the over-fulfilling of, and so we always want you to be seen as the gracious donor that is giving more than promised.
Got it.
Also, if Trent is moderating and there's no questions and there's a few minutes left, then he will then create a question and won't be asking if you have a few extra minutes. We will end on time. We will want to end on time a third to half of the time, but if the other half of the time we are going over because there's a need, you'll always be seen as the gracious giver of like, wow, Jim's always doing more than promised. And so that's a little strategy.
Do you know what it looks like to partner in real estate with me? Check it out. I've got people all over the world that watch me on social and they realize, wait a second, Kris, I've got money sitting in 401ks, IRAs, equity in my home that is doing nothing. As in, it's earning single-digit ROIs and it's not gonna compound meaningfully to give me the retirement that I want, because at the age of 65, the average person has $255,000 in retirement. It's not a ton. But partnering with me means putting that money into real estate and letting money perform for you in incredible ways. If you want to access double-digit returns in real estate and yet not have to do any of the work, leave it up to me and my team. Click the link below, learn about partnering. Let me show you my track record on my last $2 billion worth of deals.
We've told them it's going to be an hour and will likely go long since it's the first call.
Okay.
But anything over an hour in their mind is bonus.
Okay.
And so we will make sure it doesn't ever go past your commitment time.
Okay, sounds good.
So Casey, I recommend that for that first call that you, Trent, and Jim are on a group thread with me, just to make sure as we get closer, Jim's gonna have questions like, hey, did we get that mastermind link sent out? Can I get that? Can I make sure that someone has given me co-host access? I have some slides I'm gonna share, or the whatever. And that way, between Casey and Trent, you'll always have the link and you'll have that ability.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So what that means is the first assignment is just to decide outside of October 5th, and they're going to want to know on October 5th, what is the schedule moving forward? So there should be 2 critical announcements. Hey everyone, the first Wednesday of every month at noon Mountain Time, is when we're always going to have our fractional family office. And then also we're going to announce for the remainder of the year when we're going to do our predictable once a month aggressive tax strategies, and then letting them know we're probably going to take both of those meetings for the next month and really hone in on aggressive tax strategies, since that's why many of you are here, and that's also why we started the mastermind at this time of the year, to serve you. So we'll make sure that we hit that as the priority as the year comes to an end, and especially as we stand in the next year. Our monthly meetings are really going to be about helping you establish your fractional family office team. I'm going to show you who it consists of, how to identify, how to probe for whether they're sufficient or insufficient, and now you're just in teaching mode. All right, so those are the 2 things that we want to figure out, and then those announcements, Casey, that come during that first call on October 5th, we want an email same day to go out that's pre-written that already takes those announcements and gives it to them in email format. All right, so now let's get to your question of what were these people sold? First of all, our sales team did not sell them on anything different than what we presented to them.
Okay.
So that's the first good news.
Okay.
From what I can tell so far, it looks like from that organization on the first tee, we're probably looking at $75,000 to $100,000 of revenue. And by the time, and I really want Bryce in all of his phone calls to start looking for one-off scenarios, because as you guys do game plans and people are like, ooh, my tax bill is going to be nasty, there should always be you should, and then get that team connecting. I'm going to recommend Casey, since you're there taking notes, I would love for Trent and want you to just make sure that for the Investors Club, we get out an additional email and text reminding people, if you have a 5-figure tax bill, you still have time before the year is out to minimize, even potentially eliminate it. And if you're interested in that, text Bryce. Then Bryce can do handoffs to the sales team that handle Jim's first thing. And there should be 150 to 250,000 that's going to, which is a great first start because this little initiative covered a whole year's worth of social media. So it's a good start. Okay, so as far as what they were told, they are told nothing different than what we presented to them. So all they're expecting, this group obviously, the focus has not been on building a fractional family office.
Right.
The focus is, how do I eliminate my tax bill?
Right.
So for them, I think the first 2 hours on October 5th is really, hey guys, we're not going to slow down. I'm going to go into the top tax strategies. I'm going to go lean a little deeper into what's passive income versus active income, because if all your income is active, and you like one of my strategies that reduces passive income, that's not a strategy. And so, in my mind, if I were teaching the information, it would be, today I'm going to focus on the top 8 strategies, and I'm going to identify, and I want you to take notes, whether they're active or passive, and you should know, here's your homework assignment, how much of your income that you're trying to write off is active, how much is passive, and you need to pick strategies that complement both of those. So I think if you teach all 8, I think I would end each one before, and I do micro Q&A on each one. So like my frame up would be, hey guys, Jim Dude here, so excited for this brand new mastermind. Today I'm going to be covering X number of strategies. Here's the format. I'm going to teach a strategy, I'm going to answer questions, I'm going to say who it's for and who it's not, and then we'll do Q&A. Then we'll move on to the second strategy. And when we say who it's for and who it's not, they're always going to want to know W-2, passive, active, is it a tax credit or is it a tax deduction?
Sure.
Right? And so as long as those 4 things are covered every time, that's what should also train them to become more intelligent. And I would always encourage them, like, guys, don't trust your CPA.
Right.
I'm giving you this information because what I'm sharing with you, you should ask questions until you understand the basics of, conservation easement is out of the question for me because of reasons X, Y, Z. You should know that. Or, wow, it turns out that as a business owner, the Augustine rule can help me do X, Y, Z. I should document some of that stuff and talk to my CPA and see if that applies. That might save me $5,000 or $10,000. That's meaningful, right? So I think it's always the strategy, who it's for, who it's not, which always just comes down to credit, active, passive, W-2. As long as you pass it through those 4 filters, I think they should walk away and self-diagnose. And then you do some Q&A, and you're going to get dumb questions. Because when people don't learn this stuff, they just trust others. And as long as we're saying, stop trusting, trust yourself to find the right people, and I'm going to start by being that right person.
There's not a ton on W-2. W-2 is tough.
Yes.
Yes. That's why you open a business.
But, and for them, you're going to beat the dead horse and say, start your business now.
Right.
Don't start it next year.
Right.
Start it now.
Right.
Start it now.
Yeah. Well,
The other thing I would lean into, Jim, is just letting them know, we don't yet know what a renewal into the next year looks like.
Right.
And I promise you, we don't need to know that for 9 months. So what that means is I would be banging a little bit on the drum of, remember, we are here to do tax planning for your situation this year and next year, and frankly for the next decade until they change tax code.
Right.
So the benefits are going to mount with each passing year. If any of you are W-2, I got news for you. You need to start a business this year.
Yeah.
If you're investing in real estate with Kris, which almost all of them are, that's considered a business. Right? What else should you be looking for? Some of you considered owning a franchise, or what qualifies. And some of the questions are going to seem really basic, but so for a W-2, the answer is start a business.
Well, I was just thinking one thing because we got some questions like, I have a business that's not making money. And I was just thinking about that the reason why Bezos and Amazon hasn't paid taxes for years is they had NOLs. They had so much losses built up that they didn't pay taxes for years. So these strategies still do them, create NOLs that you can carry forward, and then you start your business next year or the year after, and you have a year of paying no taxes or 2 years of paying no taxes.
And I did that, by the way, years ago on one of my businesses. It's smart. So honestly,
even like 288, right? The Augusta rule. They're like, why do I need to do that? I just have more losses. Yeah, but then the year after, eventually you eat those up.
Yes.
So you're creating tax savings
for the future.
Yeah. So I think there's really good things that we can talk about.
And as long as we tell them that for whatever can be done in 2022, we're going to do it. But I need you to understand that even if you're in this mastermind for 1 year, I'm here to help you for the next decade. So always take notes, because it's not about whether I'm sharing applies this year, because someone I'm sharing applies for the years after it to come. So always take notes and make sure you understand this. And when I open it for Q&A, ask questions so that your notes are useful enough so you can talk to your CPA and have a meaningful conversation.
What about on this call, are we going to make any introductions? Like, if you want to do this, here's a couple options.
So the great news about this mastermind is that fulfillment is really easy. You're going to want to notify me at 11:45 when I hit 11:45, okay? So on any strategy where you have a vendor, I don't think you're making, I think you can drop the contact information and make sure the vendor knows who might be contacting them. And that would include some of the details, like, for example, there's this strategy. Now, please be aware, they pursue a minimum usually of 100,000. They might make an exception to 50,000, but if you're trying to save 10, then maybe there's a carry forward. Here's the when to use it and when not to use it. Because the reality is, when someone's trying to save 15 or 20,000, it's mostly small business stuff that's going to do it.
Absolutely. And you don't need to do an easement. You don't need to do a pick.
But then you encourage them. But if you're hanging out with Kris, and if your business is doing what it's supposed to, which is growing, these are the strategies of your future.
Definitely. I think it's good if we give them a couple. So if you have some contacts, my team has contacts, give them a couple strategies. We've got the one contact for the ATM strategy. I don't know another one that we would trust.
Yes.
And I think as long as we frame it, and I'm going to make sure I frame it that this is not personal financial advice. You have to do your own research. If you want to do an aggressive strategy, you have to be comfortable with what could happen down the road.
And they also have a minimum of 150,000. So this is probably for somebody that have business exits.
Right.
Or if your taxable income is, because there's some people there, Noah, that had a sizable, Ernesto, they've got some.
There's 4 or 5 guys that have exits.
Can you do me a favor and just personally make sure that you and Bryce are going back to those ones that we do know and making sure that they know about this and are getting it for October 5th?
What if I told you I already did that?
Thank you. Got it.
Okay, and then do you want me to get in, because I think some of the basics that people mess up on, like even like the Augusta rules, how do they actually do it and document it? So on this call, am I just educating them this is how it works, or is it, okay, here's the form you fill out for this, or is that another call? We would get into those details.
Yeah, so I think part of what's going to happen after this first call is you're inviting them to get with their CPA. Their homework assignment is take these notes, and you should be scheduling before year's end probably a 1 to 2 hour call with your CPA to discuss some of these strategies. And then let them know. Your CPA may or may not like some of the strategies that I'm sharing with you, and that means one of 2 things. Either you should get educated on the perspective, and they may be right for your situation. Or you may have the wrong person. And which is why in the spring, we're going to be focusing our calls on how do you level up your team, not for the income you've made in the past, but for the income you want to make in the future. And just say, I'm just going to throw that disclaimer out, that most financial people are like lawyers. They all want to believe that they have the best of what's out there. So they feel that they create value for you by telling you that the advice you're hearing from others, because it didn't come from them, is wrong. And you just need to be aware of that bias.
Got it. Okay. But you think, and whether it's on this call or any call, do you think we get into the weeds about here's how you find out how to get a quote for renting your home to your business, here's a sample lease agreement, or do we just say you need to go to your CPA and make sure you document it, and here are the things that you need, or do we actually want to give them the things that they need or walk them through?
So I would probably do it this way. You look at the 4th quarter of the year, October 5th, we really have 6 calls before the end of the year.
Right.
So I would break it down and say, okay, the first call is 2 hours. I should be able to do a brief overview of all the strategies so they understand it at a high level. And any vendors that I have, if it's for a PIC, if it's for conservation easement, I'll just let them know. I have a document with those, and that's dropped in the chat. So it's one doc, and it's there.
Got it.
And here's the disclaimer
Got it.
about that. I am not guaranteeing. I am not saying they're going to take you.
Right.
They have different minimums, but I'm just, and I would probably just do a overview and a drop of the possibilities.
Okay.
And then let them know on the next call. We're going to be going, deeper into these strategies because your homework is to get an idea and start having meaningful conversations with your team.
Got it.
And I'm going to give you some contacts of who you could connect with. Then what you can do on the next call, and really just think, if there's 5 calls left in the year, the last 2 don't matter because the year's over, which really means that then 3 calls after matter the most.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, in order of priority, it's like, oh, cost sake, I can save till the end of the year because in truth, they can do the cost sake study in February, March.
Sure.
And still get the benefit for the year before.
Sure.
So it's like, I would save that one till then.
Okay.
Any of them that so I would prioritize them to time.
Okay.
And just be like, what do you need to get a move on now? And then that might be one more part of your conversation on October 5th, which is, how long does it take to implement a strategy?
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm planning on buying some real estate next year that I could cost save. Great. So learn about it, understand it. There's nothing to do with it. That's a next year thing that we're going to be leaning into. If you did have a big exit and conservation is something you're interested in, the time for you to contact this vendor is this week. And start that right now. Right? So I would just look at ease of implementation or time frame of implementation. And that might be one other thing that you share with them.
Got it. And you're thinking on these hour calls, I'm not sure how many we could handle in one call, right? And do you think we bring on an expert in that area
I would say
to answer questions?
I would say it's up to you. I think for year 1, getting through Q4, I doubt you'll have a lot of time or room for any of that because if
bring on an expert, that's the whole call.
It is the whole call, and it's one strategy.
Right.
I like that idea for spring and summer and fall. I would do minor tax strategizing in spring and summer, and I would focus more on what in real estate can you start learning about in Q1 that maybe you buy by Q3, Q4 that you can cost, say, at the end of the year, the spring of 2024, to get the benefit for this year. So I think, if you actually do the math, you're looking at 7 hours. Probably very little time for experts, but it's your call. Because really it's just 7 hours of in priority of what takes the longest to implement to lease time, giving them that stuff and making sure they're talking to their CPAs.
Okay. That makes sense.
That really cool. There's 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, let's try to, and I don't know, maybe Trent, if someone can create a spreadsheet where we just start saying, here are the contact vendors we'll put in for this, or something like that.
I think a spreadsheet is a good idea. So, when Ryan Cox sat down with me and just said, hey, let me tell you these 8. If all they did was add a column on time to implement, and it's like, 3 months, 5 months, 4 weeks, 1 week. It's like, okay, that's now one more column of now I can plan. Because I know how much time I need to do certain things. And then I think as long as there's a corresponding sheet on, with cost sake studies, they're a dime a dozen. Here's a national outfit. I know Tim Leaks has one. Here's a company you could call that could do this anywhere stateside. A nation, across the country. PICs, here is a company that we've used in the past. People seem to like them. And the language is always just this distance with disclaimer. And so I would just look at those 8 strategies and just ask.
Does Tim have good contacts on those too? I'll go to my team and we'll vet it out. I'd like to have 2 with each,
Which would be awesome.
It'd be awesome.
And sometimes you do and sometimes you won't.
Yeah, that's true.
And as long as we have the disclaimers in there.
We can also go to your CPA. If your CPA knows the strategy,
they may have another. As long as I think we're coming across as agnostic to who, as long as they're reputable, we are keeping ourselves safe. And that way it's not like everyone. Use this company. They are the company. It's like, that's a risk. It's more of a, here's an example of a company, and guys, I wish I had a second one. The reality is, this is the only one I've currently found that I have found we believe to be reputable, but I'm telling you, you can ask your CPA around. There are others, and the disclaimer, we're good. The disclaimer on that sheet, says that we're not promising, guaranteeing. That sheet should have its own little disclaimer that just communicates that we can't guarantee any outcomes from any of these companies. But we are aware that these companies exist, and we have referred people to them from time to time. And so far today, we've had a relatively positive experience. Positive enough to make the recommendation. So I would probably just have your team create a corresponding document that matches those top 8 strategies. And some of them you can't. Like for the Augustine rule, it's more of a, we included a spreadsheet that you could work with your CPA on filling out so you are documented.
I'm wondering, because with clients, we give them an actual lease agreement. We would say, we like you to use an attorney, and they just use it. Maybe we don't give the legal document. Maybe we say you need a lease agreement, you can find one online.
If I were you, I would say that that's your call. Anytime you have something and say, I'm going to give you a template, they will probably, those things are all above and beyond promises. So it's up to you.
Just know that every time you do, it's important that you use an attorney for any legal documents. We're not attorneys. Here's a template, so you get an idea of what we mean by it.
The one thing that I always do with my people is I know when I'm delivering something beyond what I promised, and a gift that doesn't get to be acknowledged or received properly is a gift not worth giving. So it's like compensation to an employee. If you give someone a bonus that they didn't know how to create, it'll probably backfire and create entitlement. And so in my company, I'm really careful with compensation, that because I want to get all of the well-deserved kudos for something that they earned, just like I want to recognize them for having earned it. So that principle is just me saying, hey guys, I hope this is okay with you. If any of you are liking this strategy, I'm going to go ahead and drop a template in the chat. This is not necessarily the template you should use, but this is, this will help you and your CPA, or something you can approve with a lawyer. Maybe they'll edit it. This is a great document that will help you do this. I know that's above and beyond what we said we were going to do. Are you guys okay with that? When you ask this, really, you're fishing for the chat to light up with, "You're the best, Jim. Thank you so much." And we're intentionally doing this. We're doting on our grandchildren. We are giving them things, and we are saying it in a way where I have to create space for them to say, "Jim, you're the best." And what Trent will do if he's moderating is he'll say, "Hey, Jim, they're lighting up right now with that awesome gift that you're giving everyone on that bonus. I know that you weren't planning on sharing that. I think it's so cool that you are, from your experience. So-and-so said this, and we've got Jim in New Jersey that just said that he's so grateful for that." And he'll do that because it creates space for them to elevate your brand equity inside the platform. So we're always looking for ways of doing that. If every call there was 1 or 2 things that were perceived as bonuses, they were presented as bonuses, and then the host acknowledges it as such, it'll raise your brand equity.
Awesome.
Does that feel all right for the call? By the way, it's going to be amazing. And the great news is, I want Bryce. You paid $25,000. We did our first call. Here's your goal. I want them to walk away and say, this was so worth it. And by the end of the year, if they're all saying that, this is a good thing for next year.